else. Back here, is that Jimmy? I need to get glasses or something. I can't see anybody.
My name is Jimmy Nelson. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, Jimmy. Nice having you here.
Okay, so here is my question. So I've been in the same industry for a decade now and successful with that, but knowing that my skill set is in storytelling, and my background is 20 years as an actor, film, TV. And so yesterday, I think I kind of launched a business on accident publicly here. I was like, hey, I help people tell better stories, and then I've been stopped by 8 people saying, okay, so I want to work with you. So here's my question. When you've worked in an industry where you've represented someone else's product or their comp plan, and they're like, this is what you do, this is how you get paid, and all of a sudden you're launching your own thing, because I always thought that, well, that needs to be a course, and then I would stop and I wouldn't launch the course, and I'm like, no, it's a product or service with me. And whether that's one-on-one with, if I'm working with you or with a group of people, that's where I thrive, as opposed to looking at building out modules just makes my brain fry.
Perfect.
So my question is, when you're launching your own thing and it's no longer somebody else's comp plan and stuff, when it comes to like a pricing structure or what it's worth, because you don't want to ever build something for yourself that then controls you, right? Where this is still fun, it's obviously bringing in more income, you're getting to do what you love, but it's also worth your time income-wise. Like, where do you start trying to figure out, what is this worth? Where do I start?
Yeah, it's a balance of, and you just nailed it, and I'm so glad you asked this question. It's a balance of what you need to be paid for it, like what your time is worth.
Sure.
And then you take into consideration how much you love doing it, right?
Right.
But here's a general rule of thumb. You can always discount or offer a special to somebody. It's hard to take your rates up, right? And we always value things that we know the person who's delivering it values it. If a personal trainer comes in and like, hey, I do personal training. Do you want? I'm $12 an hour. You're like, huh? Like you wonder about their credentials, right? Or there's a difference between getting a $7 haircut and how you feel when you get a $125 haircut. Not that I've ever had one. But do you know what I mean? Like there are certain things where you're like, oh. He knows. So my recommendation would be and also to look at what other people in the industry are charging, so that helps you feel a little bit better about it. But it's just start, and as long as your pricing isn't published, well then no one knows it and you can adjust it accordingly, where you're like, that was way more work than I thought it was going to be. For example, Brett and I did mentoring for couples, entrepreneurial couples, and people have asked if we do that privately anymore, and we usually don't, and at the moment anyways, it wasn't the right thing for us. But there were certain clients, like yourself, who were a joy because they just did everything. And then there were certain clients where it's like, this causes me so much anguish to work with this person that you couldn't pay me enough money, right? Mm-hmm. There isn't enough money. And they're the kind of person that can like almost make you feel burnt out on something that you love. So it's nice to be able to, when you're offering a high-end service, pick who you get to work with. And Jimmy, such a need.
I would start, because you kind of mentioned it, I would start almost with a group setting, because it's easier to price a group setting, because they're still going to get that individual attention from you, mm-hmm. But in a group setting, it doesn't have to be as scary the price, because you're going to times that by how many you're going to put in the group.
Yeah.
So
well, I also think it's easier to teach that way. Like if I'm sitting in a group setting and we do a hot seat with you, and I ask you, okay, tell me your story and tell me what you do, and naturally I can tie those things together. It's one of those things where you're around and people go, do you realize what you just did? And I'm like, oh no. Is that a thing? That's a thing? Okay. But then when somebody else sees me do it with someone, even if they're in the group, sometimes they connect their own dots.
Yeah. I think that people, so I used to, I did for a long time, I coached high school football, but I also ran quarterback camps. And I would have parents that thought their kid was the next Tom Brady all the time want me to just work with their child individually. I would never do that. my individual session was always with either 3 or 4 kids, and parents would be like, how are you? And I used to say, because a lot of times kids learn by watching somebody else do it wrong or correctly, and for me to either give the correction or, you know, the praise. And so I always explain that, and I said, you're never going to miss any more reps, because, you know, you're still going to get the same amount of time on stage in your example. And so it was always easy to price like a 3 or 4 person package and stuff like that.
And with regard to Jimmy's idea, maybe that's not your exact idea, but maybe you have this thought of like, well, I kind of would like to help people, a big group of people, learn how to do this thing. But you can often figure out like what that learning process looks like for the average person by working one-on-one or in small groups where you're offering a consultation fee, where people are Skyping in. It's almost like you're working with them in person, and you charge a higher level for that, or even to discount it, knowing that what they're in exchange for going to give you a testimonial or their feedback on the process, and that they are in essence helping you to create perhaps a course, maybe not. I mean, you don't have to have a course in order to make money online. Jimmy, great suggestions and such a need, because I don't think people understand, like you just said, that their own story is really unique and what's interesting. Like, I have so many questions for Rachel. Right?
Thank you guys.
You could pull those out of her.
Appreciate it.